This isn't the place for someone like you. Get out before I call security." Marcus Hale's voice thundered through the Elite Haven Hotel's lobby in downtown Chicago, sharp and venomous, a deliberate strike meant to humiliate. His chest puffed out, arms folded tight, eyes boring into Jasmine Wright, a black woman standing calmly before him in a plain hoodie and jeans, no designer labels or entourage to signal wealth. "You think you can just walk in here and claim a suite?" Marcus sneered, his name tag glinting under the chandelier's light. Sarah Klein, the 34-year-old assistant manager, chimed in, her voice dripping with disdain. "We don't let just anyone into the presidential suite." Derek Lee, 28, the clerk beside her, smirked, leaning over the counter. "What's your game? Fake card, stolen ID?" Jasmine's calm was unshaken, a quiet defiance against their storm of prejudice. Marcus, 28, radiating control, had no idea that in 15 minutes Jasmine would fire him and every complicit staff member, flipping the script in her own hotel. Drop your city in the comments. Where are you watching from? If you've ever been judged before you could speak, hit subscribe and like to stand with stories of justice and resilience. It was a crisp autumn evening, the Chicago skyline shimmering like a promise against the dusk. Jasmine Wright stepped through the revolving glass doors of the Elite Haven, her small backpack slung over one shoulder, her steps steady across the polished granite floor. The lobby was a stage of privilege. Businessmen in tailored suits sipped espresso at the lounge, families with monogrammed luggage checked in, the faint scent of lilies drifting from crystal vases. The chandeliers cast a golden glow, reflecting off marble columns, but the warmth stopped short of the front desk. Jasmine approached, her dark eyes steady, though she'd walked this gauntlet before, too many times in too many places. Behind the counter stood Marcus, his posture rigid, flanked by Sarah, her bun pulled tight and her stare sharper than the edge of a blade. And Derek, his fingers hovering over the keyboard, ready to dismiss without a second glance. No one offered a greeting. No, welcome to Elite Haven. Just cold, appraising glares that marked her as an intruder in a space she'd built from the ground up. "I have a reservation," Jasmine said, her voice even but firm, like a river carving through stone. "The presidential suite under right." Marcus leaned forward, his eyebrow arched in mock surprise. "That suite's reserved for our top clients. You sure you're at the right hotel?" His tone was loud, performative, meant to draw every eye in the lobby. Sarah scoffed, her arms crossed. "You expect us to believe you booked that? What's your angle?" Derek piled on, his voice dripping with mockery. "Let me guess. You found a card, right? Happens all the time." Jasmine didn't flinch, her composure a shield. She slid her ID and platinum card across the marble counter, the soft scrape of plastic echoing in the tense silence. Marcus picked them up with 2 fingers, holding them like they might burn him, squinting at the card under the chandelier's glow. "This looks off," he declared, raising the card high for the lobby to see, as if presenting evidence in a courtroom. "Probably fake. We've seen this scam before." Sarah pressed a button under the desk, her voice booming over the intercom, cold and official. "Security alert. Possible unauthorized access to a premium suite. Stand by." The announcement reverberated, turning heads, silencing the soft hum of conversation. Jasmine's face remained composed, but memories flickered like ghosts in her mind. At 22, fresh from college, she'd checked into a small Atlanta motel after a long day of job interviews, dressed in sweats, exhausted from the road. The clerk had eyed her up and down and barked, "We don't rent to folks without proof of income." She'd shown her student ID, but he made her wait outside while he verified her story. She slept in her car that night, the humiliation searing into her bones. It didn't break her, it fueled her. She swore she'd build a place where no one would ever feel that small again. Derek smirked, crossing his arms, his voice loud enough to carry to the lounge. "We see this every week. Stolen cards, fake names, you're not slipping through." Sarah nodded, her lips curling. "You're not fooling anyone with that card." Across the lobby, Mia Torres, a 30-year-old teacher from New York visiting family, whispered to her husband, Alex, "This is so wrong. They're ganging up on her." She pulled out her phone, hitting record, her hands trembling with anger. Alex, 32, a graphic designer, went live on his social media. "Live from Elite Haven in Chicago, watching staff harass a guest for no reason. This is unreal." Their actions sparked a ripple through the crowd. Lena Brooks, a 24-year-old black bellhop, shifted uncomfortably at her station near the luggage carts, her uniform crisp, but her expression heavy. Her eyes met Jasmine's, and a silent understanding passed between them. A shared recognition of navigating spaces where you're seen as less, before you even open your mouth. Marcus held up Jasmine's card, waving it like a trophy, his smirk widening. "We're keeping this until we confirm it's legit." He nodded to Derek, who snatched the card with a flourish and locked it in a small safe behind the desk, the click echoing like a gavel in a courtroom. "You're not fooling anyone," Derek barked, his grin performative, feeding off Marcus's energy. Sarah leaned over the counter, her voice sharp. "Who do you think you are coming in here like this?" Mia's video captured every moment, her voiceover shaking. "They just took her card. That's theft. This is happening right now." Alex's stream was gaining traction, comments flooding in. "This is straight up racism. Call them out. Where's the manager?" Jasmine pulled out her phone, dialing her assistant, Keisha Evans, her voice low but steady as steel. "It's happening again," she said. Keisha's response was immediate, crisp, professional. "Systems locked and ready. Say the word, Miss Wright." Marcus leaned closer, his voice rising to carry across the lobby, ensuring every guest heard. "Your so-called reservations canceled. We don't allow scams here. You're holding up real guests," Sarah added, her tone biting. "Stop wasting our time. Get out." Jasmine met their gazes, unflinching, her voice calm but cutting. "You mean the guests watching you right now?" She nodded subtly toward Mia and Alex, whose phones were trained on the scene like spotlights. Guests began to pause. An elderly man in a tweed jacket lowered his newspaper, his brow furrowed. A mother with her teenage daughter whispered in shock, her hand covering her mouth. Lena stepped forward, her voice tentative but clear. "I saw her name in the system earlier. It's valid, Marcus. I checked it myself." Marcus spun on her, his eyes flashing with fury. "Stay out of this. Oregon, you're next," Sarah snapped, her voice like a whip. "Know your place, Lena. Don't make this worse." Jasmine tapped her phone again, her movements deliberate. "Keisha, log everything. Timestamps, video feeds, audio, all of it." Keisha's voice came through, steady and assured. "Logged. Systems ready to escalate whenever you're ready." Derek, emboldened by Marcus's lead, shouted loud enough for the back wall to hear. "Fraud like you think's a fancy card means access. Go back where you belong." The words were a gut punch, raw and unfiltered, exposing the bias beneath the polished veneer of the elite haven. Gasps rippled through the crowd, a collective intake of breath. Mia exclaimed, her voice shaking with outrage. "Did he just say that? Did everyone hear that?" Her video hit X, views climbing fast, comments erupting. "Unreal. This is 2025, are you kidding? Shut this place down." A memory surged in Jasmine's mind. At 18, in a London hotel lobby during a family trip, dressed casually after a long flight, the clerk had snapped, "This area's for paying guests only." and escorted her to the curb, despite her valid keycard. Her parents found her there, sitting on her suitcase, humiliated, the sting of rejection burning deep. That pain didn't break her. It sharpened her resolve. From a single bed and breakfast in Toronto, she built Elite Haven into a luxury chain spanning Canada, the UK, and the US, rooted in a promise of inclusion for all. Yet here, in her own hotel, the same tired script played out, as if time had stood still. Sarah stepped out from behind the desk, grabbing Jasmine's arm with a quick, forceful tug. "Time to leave! Move it!" The touch ignited the room like a spark on dry tinder. Alex shouted, his voice booming. "Hands off her! You can't do that!" Lena pushed forward, her voice rising above the chaos. "You can't touch guests. That's against policy." Sarah spun on her, venom dripping from every word. "Mind your business or you'll lose your job, Lena." Lena stood firm, her eyes blazing. "I've seen this too many times. Black guests treated like suspects from the second they walk in. It's not policy, it's you. It's all of you." Jasmine's voice cut through, steady as steel. "Return my card now." Derek leaned over the counter, laughing in her face. "Or what? What are you gonna do?" Jasmine's eyes narrowed, her voice dropping to a dangerous calm. "You'll regret it for the rest of your life." The lobby crackled with tension, a powder keg ready to explode. Guests formed a loose circle, phones raised like lanterns in the dark, capturing every angle. A woman in her 50s, clutching a designer purse, muttered to her companion, "I've stayed here for years. Never again if this is how they treat people." A man in a navy blazer, his voice low but firm, added, "This is disgusting. Pure prejudice right in front of us." Marcus doubled down, his voice booming across the marble. "She's scamming us. People like her always do." The phrase, "people like her," landed like a stone, exposing the raw, ugly bias beneath his words. Jasmine interrupted, her tone sharp but controlled. "Finish that sentence, Marcus. Say exactly what you mean." Marcus faltered, his confidence cracking under the weight of the crowd's gaze, their phones recording his every move. Mia's camera panned across the scene, her voiceover steady. "Look at her. She's calm. They're the ones panicking." Lena spoke louder now, her voice carrying the weight of years suppressed. "I've logged complaints before. Solo black women dismissed at check-in, treated like criminals for no reason, every single one ignored by management." Marcus's face flushed red, his voice a desperate roar. "That's a lie! You're making this up!" But the crowd murmured agreement, their whispers turning to voices, a rising tide of dissent. Alex's stream hit 500 views, comments flooding in. "They're done. Crowds turning on them. This is going viral." Jasmine stepped closer, her presence commanding the room. "Your unchecked power ends now." Marcus smirked, clinging to his fading authority. "You think so? You're nothing here." Jasmine nodded, her voice a quiet promise. "I know." "What would you do if someone grabbed you in a place you owned? Share your story in the comments. Your voice matters." Marcus's desperation erupted, his voice roaring across the marble. "Throw her out, now!" He slammed his hand on the intercom, his words blaring through the speakers. "All staff, unauthorized intruder in lobby, do not engage, alert security." The announcement silenced the lobby's hum, a chilling declaration of war. Jasmine stood unmoved, her calm a stark contrast to the chaos. Mia shouted, her voice trembling with fury. "She's no intruder! You're the problem!" Alex's stream surged past 1,000 views, comments raging. "Call the cops on them!" "This is shameful!" Sarah yanked Jasmine's arm harder, her grip bruising. "Move now, Oregon will drag you out." Lena stepped between them, her stance unyielding. "Her reservation's real, I saw it. Stop this," Sarah hissed, her face inches from Lena's. "You're fired, get out with her." Lena shot back, her voice steady. "Then fire me, but this ends now. You can't keep doing this." Marcus barked, his face red with rage. "She doesn't look like presidential suite material, get her out." Jasmine's response was quiet fire, each word deliberate. "You keep saying fraud to hide your hate." Another memory flooded back. At 27, in a Vancouver hotel, dressed in a sharp suit for a business meeting, the clerk had demanded extra ID, saying, "We have to be careful with people like you." She'd waited hours while others breezed through, the humiliation fueling her to draft Elite Haven's anti-bias policy that same night. She'd vowed no guest would endure that again, not in her hotels. "Get security," Marcus ordered Derek, who hesitated, doubt creeping into his eyes for the first time. Guests spoke up, their voices rising. "This is harassment! You're targeting her for no reason." Jasmine turned on her phone's speaker, her voice calm but commanding. "Keisha, escalate, full audit now." Keisha's voice was crisp, professional. "Done. Carla on standby?" Jasmine, 1 minute. Derek shouted, his bravado faltering. "You're a liar. Leave before this gets worse." Lena stood beside Jasmine, her voice firm. "I've worked here 3 years, seen the pattern. Black guests alone. Always suspicion, always questioned. It's not random, it's you." Guests began to speak, their voices rising like a chorus of truth. A woman in her 60s holding a coffee cup said, "I complained last year. They overcharged me for my room, completely ignored me." A man with a briefcase added, "They denied me an ADA-compliant room, then gave one to someone else an hour later." Mia's video went viral on X, reposts spreading like wildfire. Elite Haven exposed racism in real time. Marcus lunged toward her phone, his voice frantic. "Delete that right now!" Guests stepped in his path, a man in glasses saying calmly, "No silencing this. You did this to yourselves." Sarah's face paled, her voice shaking. "What if we're wrong? Marcus, what if she's legit?" Jasmine turned to Derek, her gaze piercing. "You chose theft when you locked my card away." Lena dropped the truth like a bomb. "She's Jasmine Wright, CEO of Elite Haven." Gasps rippled through the lobby, a wave of shock and realization. A young man whispered, "This is her hotel?" Sarah spun to Marcus, her voice cracking with panic. "You said she was a fraud! You said check the card!" Alex's stream exploded. "Game changer, this just flipped everything." Jasmine faced Marcus, her voice steady but searing. "You humiliated me in my own lobby in front of my guests." Keisha patched through Carla, the head of Elite's compliance team. "Ready for authorization, Miss Wright?" Jasmine's command was unwavering, each word a verdict. Terminate Marcus Hale, Sarah Klein, Derek Lee. Immediate, full system freeze. Their badges buzzed red, locking them out in real time. Silence fell, heavy and final, then gave way to the weight of justice, swift, undeniable, and irreversible. If you witnessed this moment, what would you say? Drop it in the comments. Your voice counts. Marcus's world crumbled as his badge flashed red, his power extinguished like a snuffed flame. Derek stared blankly at the safe, now empty. Sarah trembled, clutching the counter as if it could anchor her fading authority. Lena announced to the lobby, her voice clear and strong. "They're out. They no longer represent Elite Haven." Marcus erupted, his voice ragged with desperation. "This is illegal. Call corporate. You can't do this." Sarah checked her phone, her hands shaking. "Locked out. Everything's gone. My access, my email, everything." Derek backed away, his bravado gone, muttering, "This can't be happening." Lena moved to the safe, entering her own code to retrieve Jasmine's platinum card. She handed it back with a steady hand. "Here, ma'am. It's yours." The gesture was quiet, but powerful, a reclamation of dignity in a space that had tried to strip it away. Marcus snarled, his face flushed with desperation. "You tricked us! Humiliated us in public!" Jasmine's response was measured, each word carrying the weight of truth. Leadership isn't about control, Marcus. It's about what happens when the ignored finally speak and are heard. Guests began to speak, their voices building like a rising tide. A woman in a floral scarf, her voice trembling, said, "I was ignored when I complained about a double charge last spring. They laughed it off." A father with his son added, "They dismissed my request for an early check-in, said I didn't look like a priority guest." Lena stepped forward, her voice stronger now. "I logged 3 complaints in the last 6 months alone. Black women treated like suspects at check-in. Everyone dismissed by Marcus. I have the records." Mia's post was now viral, hundreds of reposts flooding X, Reddit, and beyond. Comments poured in. "This is why I don't stay at luxury hotels. Her calm is power." "Shut this place down!" Marcus lunged again, pointing at Mia's phone, his voice cracking. "Delete that. It's private property." Guests formed a barrier, a woman in her 70s holding up her own phone, her voice steady. "Your face is already online, sir. Think twice before you threaten again." Sarah's voice broke as she turned to Jasmine. "I didn't know it would go this far. I swear I didn't." Jasmine's gaze was unflinching. "You knew enough, Sarah. You knew when you pressed that intercom, when you grabbed my arm, when you laughed as my card was locked away." Marcus, his voice now a desperate rasp, turned to Jasmine. "Why didn't you say who you were? You set us up." Jasmine tilted her head, her calm unshaken. "I didn't need to say who I was. I walked in like any guest, quiet, respectful, with a valid reservation. You failed the test, Marcus, and you failed it in front of the world." Carla's voice came through the phone, sharp and professional. "Terminations processed. Legal audit initiated. Awaiting further instructions, Miss Wright." Guests began to clap. Not loud or chaotic, but purposeful. A steady rhythm of acknowledgement for justice served. Jasmine turned to Lena. "You're promoted to Guest Services Director, effective immediately. Lead this hotel with the integrity you showed today." Lena's eyes widened, but she nodded, her resolve clear. "I won't let you down, Miss Wright." Keisha's voice chimed in. "Reform protocols ready, Miss Wright. Ready to roll out." Marcus, Sarah, and Derek stood behind the counter, stripped of titles, power, and audience. Jasmine's voice rang out, clear and final. "You're dismissed, escorted out by security." As they walked through the lobby, heads down, the crowd parted, their murmurs a chorus of accountability. No sympathy, just consequence. Marcus muttered under his breath, "This isn't over." Sarah whispered to Derek, "What do we do now?" Derek shook his head, silent, his earlier arrogance gone. Jasmine turned to the guests, her voice steady. "This wasn't just about me. This was about every guest who's been told their presence is a problem, every complaint buried, every policy twisted to humiliate. That ends today. What would you do if you saw this unfold in real time? Share below. Your story matters." Jasmine stood at the center of the lobby, her plain hoodie a stark contrast to the grandeur around her, yet her presence filled the space like a beacon. She addressed the crowd. "My name is Jasmine Wright, founder and CEO of Elite Haven Hospitality Group. I'm not just taking back this hotel, I'm reclaiming it from every excuse that let this happen." Marcus stumbled forward, his voice a weak protest. "This is an ambush. You planned this." Jasmine's eyes locked on his. No, Marcus. I walked in like any other guest, alone, quiet, with no privilege to lean on. You showed your true colors and the world saw it. Derek muttered, his confidence shattered. We didn't know. How could we know? Jasmine's response was a quiet blade. That's the point. You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with respect. Lena stepped forward, her voice softer but resolute. I saw her name in the system this morning. I knew who she was, but I didn't speak up right away. I'm sorry for that. Jasmine turned to her, her expression softening. You spoke when it mattered, Lena. You stood up when others stayed silent. That's why you'll lead this hotel as guest services director. Lena nodded, her voice steady. I'll make it right, Miss Wright. The crowd erupted in slow, purposeful claps, not for spectacle, but for justice. Sarah's voice trembled as she spoke. It was Marcus. He trained us to profile guests who didn't fit the image. We were just following his lead. Jasmine's gaze didn't waver. That's a confession, Sarah, not an excuse. It's been logged. Carla's voice came through. Noted for legal and compliance review. We're pulling all training records. Jasmine turned to the crowd, her voice clear and commanding. We're resetting the system, suspending all bookings flagged under Marcus's ID. Affected guests will receive full compensation, no questions asked. To the guests, she added, if you've been mistreated here, our team will respond within 48 hours. No form letters, just real answers. The room buzzed with approval, phones still raised, capturing every moment. Carla spoke again. Media's picking up the footage. X, Reddit, local outlets, even national news. You're in control, Miss Wright. Jasmine nodded. Let the truth spread. Let people see what happens when a company doesn't just apologize, but acts. To Marcus, Sarah, and Derek, she said, her voice like iron. You're terminated, flagged across our system, banned from future employment. They shuffled out, security trailing, the lobby watching in silence. Marcus muttered as he passed. You'll pay for this. Sarah whispered to Derek. We're done, aren't we? Derek nodded, his face pale. Yeah, we're done. Jasmine's final words to them echoed through the glass doors. Walk through the lobby you tried to control. Let every guest see the consequence. As the doors closed behind them, Jasmine turned to the crowd. This wasn't justice, it was a beginning. Reform starts now. The energy in the elite Haven lobby shifted from confrontation to transformation, like a storm clearing to reveal a new dawn. Jasmine turned to Lena. Initiate the reform plan, full audit of the last 18 months, guest complaints, staff conduct, training records, everything. Lena nodded, her voice steady. I'm on it, Miss Wright. Starting tonight. Keisha's voice crackled through. Internal alert sent. Compliance, diversity, operations, legal all notified. Guests approached cautiously, offering support. A woman in her 40s, clutching a reservation printout, said, Thank you for standing up. I was scared to speak earlier. Thought they'd turn on me. Lena smiled gently. We're listening now. Your story matters. Alex's live stream hit 5,000 views, his caption bold. CEO reclaims hotel, fires staff in real-time reckoning. Mia approached Jasmine, her phone lowered. Do you want me to keep posting? This is blowing up? Jasmine nodded. Only the truth, Mia. That's all that matters. Jasmine addressed the crowd again, her voice resonating with purpose. For years, Elite Haven promised inclusion, but promises mean nothing if bias festers behind the desk. That changes today. We're bringing in independent firms for staff retraining. No exceptions, no grandfather clauses. Every employee from bellhop to regional manager will be accountable. Carla's voice returned. Reform plan approved. Operation suspended for guest safety. Local media requests a statement. Chicago Tribune, WGN, even CNN. Jasmine replied, her voice firm. Suspend front desk bookings temporarily. Lena will handle VIP guests. Others will be redirected to our partner location with a complimentary night, fully comped. Lena nodded, her hand steady. I'm ready, Miss Wright. I'll make sure it's done right. Guests began to help, offering to carry luggage, passing out water bottles from the lounge. From confrontation, a sense of community emerged. The lobby no longer a battleground, but a space for rebuilding trust.